Everyone, we are here with writer-director Kyle Perrit, and he has a film that's going to be premiering at Screenfest called Robbie Ain't Right No More, and that's going to be coming to Screenfest October 10th. Kyle, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. Um, just watched the film, and that was a lot. I loved it. Um, but can you tell us a little bit about, well, tell us what the film is. Tell us what it's about.
I think without giving too much away, it's a story about a young girl and her brother who's just returned from war with a pretty disturbing souvenir.
That's I guess that's it in a nutshell. Um, so you were a former Marine,
Yeah.
so thank you for your service, of course. But also what inspired this story?
Um, I would say it's a combination of a bunch of lingering feelings that I still had from the bizarre experience of coming home after a deployment and just my love of horror movies.
Fascinating. So I guess that leads me to my next question. Why horror? Because this story technically could have been, I mean, it has been told, in drama, in comedy. I mean, like it's all these types of, but why did you lean into horror for this?
Um, it's weird. I've tried to write this story as like a couple years ago, is more like artsy fartsy
Mhm.
kind of like meditation, and it didn't really work. So um, I think with the horror genre, you have more opportunity to get like deep into the kind of darker parts of the experience. I don't know
Yeah,
if that makes
and it also, I don't know, allows you a bit more freedom, you know, uh,
sense.
to explore, I yes, mystery or the fantastical, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
So let's talk about some of your influences. What are some of your favorite horror films, and what kind of inspired the the movie that you created?
Well, I think you probably won't be surprised if I said Alien is a good one. Um, Halloween, 1978, of course.
Of course,
Uh, um, They Live. That's a good one. It's less horror, but
more
Uh,
sci-fi horror, but
mhm. um, I would have to put Aliens on the list too, even though it's a completely different vibe, but it's still up there.
that's and as a Marine, did you connect with that movie?
Oh yeah, yeah, of course.
It's such a cool movie. So how did you end up finding your lead? Because he's particularly good in this short. How did he come to be a part of the film?
So our casting director, Kimberly Westet, she brought him to us,
Mhm.
and there were several other audition tapes as well, but and there were some very good ones. But as soon as we saw his, it just kind of, you know, we knew immediately that he was the guy.
Because he
Yeah,
looks pretty much all American, He has that all American look, but yeah, he can bring it. He can definitely bring it. Um,
yeah.
so were there any particular scenes of the film that you are proud of and you're excited to watch with a group?
um,
Without spoilers, of course.
yeah. It's hard because I think some of the more interesting scenes, uh, I don't really want to talk about them because it would spoil the fun.
I will say that I loved the opening scene at the dinner table. That was
Yeah.
unbelievably uncomfortable. And
Oh, good, good.
Did you experience anything like that, similar to that, with people when you came back from deployment?
Yeah, that's probably the closest to life, like, I don't know, thing that happened to me directly.
Mhm.
I don't want to, you know, name any names of certain people, but yeah, I had a dinner kind of a little similar. I didn't, stand up and unbutton my shirt or anything, but just the kind of conversations people have, and it's usually from very pro-war people who have, no idea, like, what they're even voting for, to send other people's kids to go do what
Mhm.
they think they know everything.
Mhm.
um
Yeah, but they haven't lived it.
right, right.
So yeah, I was when the guy pronounced it Italian, I cringed. Consider I was like, oh God, I have relatives like that. So what's interesting to me is your transition from Marine to filmmaker. How did that happen?
um that's I watched a lot of movies on deployments, like at our different FOBs, forward operating bases overseas. There would be like a massive hard drive there left from the last people who were there, and
Mhm.
I guess over the years they get filled up with movies. Um, I got to Iraq in like 2009, so by the time I got there were just thousands of movies on a hard drive like this big, because
Wow.
it's 2009. But um, so I think I don't know. I knew I really wanted to get into writing
Uh-huh.
around that time. So when I got out, all of my friends were making indie films and trying to fight their way into the film business. So I kind of just fell in with that crowd. It just seemed natural.
Mhm. And it was a good fit, and you loved film anyway, so there you go.
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, you definitely have a knack for it. You produced a very good looking short film. Is there any plans to possibly develop this into a feature?
Yeah. I kind of, I'm sure you remember the ending kind of begs for that.
Yeah,
That
it's a
was
it's a
by,
pretty ambiguous ending there.
yeah, it was very intentional to get people to be interested in where that story would go, whether it be a feature or like a limited series. I think it worked with either one.
Well, whatever you do, you have to cast the lead again. Same guy, because he was amazing, amazing, good stuff. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
pretty much everything was on point with that short. So very well done. So have you shared the film with anybody, like friends and family, or you just kept it? And if so, what are their thoughts?
Yeah. Well, the friends and family thing, you could just make a pile of garbage and they're gonna pat you on the back
Yeah,
and
yeah.
say it's great. But yeah, I did show it to most of my family earlier this year, and it was more than the usual pat on the back, though. I think they typically hate most of the stuff that I make. It's like the opposite of what they would consider entertainment. Uh, but yeah, it got a good reaction. So
Good.
yeah.
Well, I can only assume it's going to have a really strong positive reaction at Screamfest as well, because that's a really fun festival. Um, lots of lots of support, lots of engagement. So you're going to have a really good time there. So,
Yeah, yeah, it'll be our
have you been there
first time
before?
there. No.
No, no. Oh, you just answered it. It was your first time there. Yeah, you're going to have a lot of fun. Um, and plenty of networking too. So do that. Um, but like I said before, Robbie Ain't Right No More is premiering at Screenfest this month, October 10th in Hollywood. And Kyle, it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, sir. And best of luck with this release. Please come back when you actually make the feature.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I will.
All right, man. Take care.